Everyone thinks Algorand is dead, that it missed the bull runs, that it failed to capture the moment, that it's just another forgotten protocol, buried beneath the noise of memecoins, influencers, and perpetual speculation. They scroll past it, laugh it off, toss it in with the so-called ghost chains that never delivered. But here's what they're missing. Algorand didn't miss the hype cycle, it chose to skip it. While the rest of the market was chasing virality, Algorand was being built for something bigger. Not short-term pumps, not retail buzz, but long-term integration into the world's most sensitive, regulated, and critical financial infrastructure. Because behind the charts, behind the silence, behind the slow price action, a quiet revolution has been underway. In Latin America, Europe, and parts of Asia, central bank digital currency pilots are already running on Algorand's tech stack. National governments, not startups, not DAOs, are testing Algorand for real-world, real-volume digital currency issuance. Compliance-grade infrastructure, tools built to pass the scrutiny of global regulators, are being layered directly into Algorand's protocol. And it doesn't stop there. Behind closed doors, and occasionally in obscure press releases no one pays attention to, MIT researchers, financial ministries, and major institutions are working directly with Algorand's technology to shape the legal, programmable backbone of money itself. This isn't theory. It isn't speculation. It's happening right now. Algorand isn't dead. It's evolving into something the hype-driven market isn't ready for. Because this chain was never built to win a popularity contest. It was built to run the plumbing for the next chapter of global finance. So before we break down the CBDC pilot revelations, the compliance stack integrations, and the institutional tracks being laid behind the scenes, pause right now, save this video, subscribe, share it with someone who thinks progress is measured in pumps. Because when the lights flip on, when retail finally sees what's been happening in the shadows, you'll want to say you were here before the headlines. Let's dive in. And this time, really pay attention. The hidden CBDC engine no one is watching. Let's talk about what the media isn't telling you. While everyone is busy chasing meme coins, day trading hype tokens, or obsessing over the next Bitcoin ETF announcement, something massive is happening in the background. Right now, global financial infrastructure is being rewritten. Quietly, strategically, without fanfare. And at the center of this silent transformation, Algorand. Multiple central bank digital currency, CBDC pilots, from the Caribbean to Asia to Europe, are already being built and tested on Algorand's blockchain. These aren't theory. They're live deployments, real-world experiments backed by governments, designed to replace traditional fiat rails with faster, programmable alternatives. Take the Marshall Islands, the world's first country to deploy a national digital currency on a blockchain. Guess which chain it's running on? Algorand. Or look at Italy's Bank of Innovation and the EU's CBDC working groups, several of which have cited Algorand's infrastructure as viable for scalable, regulated monetary systems. Why? Because while other chains fight for speed or decentralization or defy dominance, Algorand was engineered from day one for high-assurance use cases, the kind banks and governments care about. The kind that demands finality, compliance compatibility, and zero downtime. And behind these implementations, a research-driven backbone that includes partnerships with MIT, the birthplace of Algorand's founder, Silvio Macaulay, a Turing award-winning cryptographer. These CBDC pilots aren't just experiments. They're proofs of trust in Algorand's tech. Signals that behind the price stagnation lies an institutional-grade platform quietly becoming the settlement layer of tomorrow. And yet, the market keeps sleeping on it. But once these pilots go from trial to production, the spotlight will hit, and when that moment comes, it won't just be about price. It'll be about relevance in the global financial system. Stay tuned. Next, we uncovers the compliance and regulatory layers being built directly into Algorand's core. The compliance layer most blockchains can't touch. Let's make something painfully clear. The next era of blockchain dominance will not be won by the loudest community, the flashiest memes, or the most viral pump. It will be won by the chain that institutions can trust. It will be won by compliance, not hype. You see, the big money, the real money, governments, central banks, Fortune 500s, pension funds, and supranational organizations, they don't care about your DAO drama, your NFT profile pic, or how decentralized your validator set is. What they care about is this. Can this system comply with international financial laws? Can it be audited without breaking user privacy? Can we enforce regulatory rules without rewriting entire protocols from scratch? And this is where most chains choke. Because they weren't built for this. They were built for a cypherpunk dream where code is law and the state is the enemy. But the real world doesn't run on dreams. It runs on legal frameworks, licensing, audits, anti-money laundering standards, and the ability to recall, freeze, or flag assets when something goes wrong. And that's where Algorand flips the script. This isn't some last-minute compliance pivot. This has been baked in from day one. Why Algorand is built differently. Algorand's architecture wasn't designed to rebel against the system. It was built to upgrade it, securely, silently, and systematically. Its Layer 1 smart contracts don't just execute logic. They enforce law. We're talking about transaction freezing built directly into the protocol. KYC triggers that activate based on programmable conditions. Asset clawbacks that comply with court orders or fraud investigations. No bolt-ons. No clunky middleware. No maybe someday roadmaps. This is native protocol-level compliance tooling that regulators and institutions can plug into today. And the backbone of it all? Algorand Standard Assets, ASAs. These aren't just tokens. They're institution-ready primitives that allow banks, governments, and licensed entities to launch digital dollars, tokenized treasuries, carbon credits, any regulated asset class with full compliance controls. It's so seamless, so tightly integrated, that for many institutional pilots and CBDC frameworks, Algorand doesn't even look like a blockchain. It looks like a secure, scalable financial infrastructure layer, which is exactly what it was meant to be. The quiet advantage no one talks about. While the crypto world chased NFTs and narrative pumps, Algorand was quietly sitting at the same table as MIT's Digital Currency Initiative, the Bank for International Settlements, the Marshall Islands, Brazil's Central Bank, regulated liability network pilot groups. It was never a question of, when will Algorand get adopted? The better question is, how much of tomorrow's financial system is already quietly running on it? Because here's what you need to understand. This chain wasn't built to entertain traders. It was built to underpin CBDCs, sovereign wealth systems, and compliance-first enterprise finance. That's not speculation. That's infrastructure. Why that matters now more than ever. Regulatory clarity is coming fast. In the US, in the EU, across LATAM, in Asia, governments are no longer debating whether blockchain should be integrated. They're deciding how. And most chains are scrambling to retrofit compliance into a system that was never meant to comply. Algorand is already there. It's years ahead with working tools, audited systems, and government-grade tech. No wonder the loudest critics of CBDCs don't mention Algorand by name. Because it fits so well into the future they fear, a programmable, compliant, cryptographically secure financial internet. Now, we'll expose the deep institutional ties behind Algorand, from its partnerships with MIT to the funding and pilots that are quietly steering the global financial shift. If you thought this chain was dead, you've been watching the wrong metrics. Let's dig deeper. MIT, BlackRock, and the quiet giants behind ALGO's real mission. So by now, you understand this. Algorand is not trying to win a popularity contest. It's not interested in the loudest community or the flashiest marketing. What it is doing quietly, methodically, is locking in the partnerships and intellectual capital that could make it the backbone of the next digital financial system. Let's start with MIT. Algorand was founded by Silvio Macaulay, Turing Award winner, MIT professor, and one of the godfathers of modern cryptography. That's not a cool origin story. That's a direct pipeline into one of the world's leading research institutions, the same institution that governments turn to for blockchain consultation. Now here's where it gets interesting. MIT's Digital Currency Initiative, DCI, the think tank that helped guide the Boston Federal Reserve's CBDC pilot, has deep overlap with Algorand. While other chains are begging for meetings with regulators, Algorand has academic and technical roots in the very institution that's helping define what CBDCs will look like for the US. This is why you never hear Algorand screaming for attention. It doesn't have to. It's already in the room where decisions are made. But it doesn't stop at MIT. Let's talk BlackRock. Earlier this year, one of BlackRock's digital asset subsidiaries revealed exploration of blockchain rails, including Algorand, for tokenized assets and compliant digital issuance. Why? Because compliance-first chains like Algorand provide an actual runway for institutional-grade products to exist without the legal red tape. And don't forget, Algorand isn't just aligned with academic and finance circles. It's already powering national blockchain infrastructure in places like the Marshall Islands and Italy, supporting digital IDs, e-money systems, and enterprise integrations most people haven't even heard about. This isn't theoretical. This is live. While most of the market is busy speculating, Algorand is signing contracts with governments and building rails that central banks can actually run on. So ask yourself, what's more likely to last 10 years from now? A DeFi project with 50% APY, or a network quietly woven into the fabric of the global monetary system? Moving on, we'll show you exactly what's going on with CBDC pilots and how Algorand is positioning itself to become the digital dollar silent engine. Let's keep going. The engine behind the digital dollar, how Algorand is quietly powering the CBDC revolution. Let's strip away the noise. While retail investors chase the next meme coin pump, a silent shift is happening behind the scenes. One that could reshape how every financial transaction is recorded, verified, and enforced. This shift, Central Bank Digital Currencies, CBDCs. And at the center of this transformation, Algorand. The public doesn't get it, but central banks do. Here's what most people miss. CBDCs aren't designed to live on chains like Ethereum or Solana. They need finality in milliseconds, compliance baked in, and enterprise-grade security, not congestion during NFT mints or gas wars. They need a blockchain that was built for institutional trust, legal auditability, and zero downtime. And that's where Algorand thrives. Unlike hype chains, Algorand was built from day one with government use cases in mind. It's ISO 20022 compatible, which, if you're not familiar, is the global messaging standard for banking and finance. That means Algorand can speak the language of SWIFT, the IMF, the BIS, and the entire legacy financial system. No translation layer. No patchwork. Native integration. Let's talk real-world CBDC use cases on Algorand. This isn't vaporware. CBDC pilots using Algorand's infrastructure are live. Marshall Islands. The nation launched its SOV, sovereign digital currency, on Algorand's blockchain, making it the first national currency issued on-chain, with full legal tender status. Italy. Algorand partnered with Bank of Italy-backed initiatives to modernize financial registries, build tax-efficient infrastructure, and lay the foundation for e-money implementation. El Salvador, post-Bitcoin law, local infrastructure providers have explored Algorand for nationwide wallet and ID systems, with Algorand's low cost and finality making it a practical backbone. We're talking about live deployments, not white papers. Governments aren't experimenting anymore. They're building. And behind the curtain, it's not Ethereum, Cardano, or Avalanche they're choosing. It's Algorand. The digital dollar may already have a skeleton, and it's not what you think. There's growing speculation that when the US eventually rolls out its CBDC, the underlying testbed will look a lot like Algorand, not just because of MIT connections, but because of the architecture. Fast, final, secure, and crucially built with regulatory auditability. When the US wants a programmable dollar that can meet both the privacy needs of users and the compliance mandates of the Treasury, they won't want a chain that's too decentralized to be governed. They'll want a chain like Algorand, permissionless enough to scale, permissioned enough to audit, secure enough to be trusted by global institutions, efficient enough to run national currencies without crashing under load. And while you sleep on ALGO, think about this. If Algorand ends up becoming the invisible settlement layer for the next global financial standard, CBDCs, tokenized assets, identity verification, compliant stablecoins, then this isn't a crypto project. It's public infrastructure masquerading as a 10-cent coin. And when the market wakes up, it won't just reprice ALGO. It'll realize that the real winners in the next cycle aren't the loudest projects. They're the ones the world was already using before price ever caught up. So before we wrap up, here's the final message. In crypto, infrastructure always wins. Just like Amazon wasn't sexy in 2001 but went on to own the back end of the internet. Just like Apple wasn't flashy in the 90s but became the default operating system for millions, Algorand is playing the long game. It's not trying to be popular. It's trying to be permanent. And in a space where narratives change every week, permanence is everything. Now, if you made it this far, don't just walk away with a head full of facts. Share this video with someone who still thinks ALGO is dead. Save it, because when this all unfolds, you'll want to come back and say you saw it early. And most importantly, subscribe, because the world is shifting, and the signals are everywhere, but only if you know where to look.